and be live again. It has been a few weeks since I've been doing some lives. Most of you know I put together a huge pet expo, and then right after that I went to the AHVMA, which is the American Holistic Veterinary Association conference, and then right after that I went to the Feed Real conference that was held in San Diego as well. And so it's been back-to-back educational trips for me, including my own event that I do every year called the Thriving Pet Expo. Which we bring in veterinarians from all over. And we had so many speakers at that event, and it was really fabulous. And I did the keynote, which always seems a little weird to me because from a speaking situation, it seemed a little uncomfortable to be the speaker at my own event. However, I knew that a lot of the people that would be at the event would be clients of mine that I have had for years. And so I wanted to speak at the event because I wanted to be able to speak with them and to them from the heart. And so it was important for me to do that. So one of the things that I shared at that event was a situation that happened to me a few years ago with my own doctor. And for those of you who don't know, or as you're coming in, let me just kind of quickly remind you, I have worked with animals for over 40 years now, and I am a groomer, I'm a certified pet nutritionist and an esthetician. I spend most of my life whether it's in my own kitchen or traveling to different places, learning about nutrition and how it affects the skin. And those two things I learned very early on, and it started with ear infections for me. So not my own ear infections, but animals' ear infections. And I was desperate to figure out what was causing the ear infections. As a groomer, if any of you are following me and you're a groomer, you'll know. And for pet parents, if you don't know this, groomers get blamed for ear infections all the time. It is the number one cause of what is blamed is water getting in the ears. And it's sorry, at my stove, I'm not in a studio. This is just my little old house with all of my pictures on here. Hopefully I don't have anything. I didn't look. I'm like, oh God, do I have something embarrassing on there? You guys are all going to zoom in on later. But anyway, so I wanted to figure out what was actual causing ear infections, because it was really frustrating for me as a groomer, because people would bring in these dogs to me that already had the ear infection, but they didn't know it, so they couldn't smell it. And then we remove all the fluffy hair and do a bunch of stuff, and then they notice that there's an ear infection. We would pluck the ear hair, and now they can smell it. And so then they would go to their veterinarian, and then their veterinarian would say, well, there's fluid down there, so your groomer must have caused the ear infection. So that's what made me start looking at causes. And that was probably 25, 30 years ago. I wanted to know what caused ear infections. And then that just did a trickle down effect for me. I went down rabbit holes that I shouldn't have been in. And I found out a lot of information through those rabbit holes also that were beneficial to me. And then that really made me realize how interested I was in the skin and why animals are scratching all the time. And so, of course, I started learning about yeast infections in the ears and bacterial infections. And that became something that I am still to this day very, very interested in. But because of that led me, I knew that I couldn't treat the skin. Well, I can't treat anything because I'm not a veterinarian. So I'm not treating anybody. But I knew that I couldn't help people and give advice if I didn't learn what was going on in the inside, because it became very clear to me that a lot of the skin issues that are affecting our animals are actually caused by the inside and by the gut and by the skin's microbiome. And so I learned a lot about the gut microbiome, which led me to learning. I remember the first time I said to somebody, and I think it was Dr. Roman years ago, that I said, oh, so everything has a biome? And she says, yeah, your eye has a microbiome, your ear has the microbiome, your skin, your heart. And I just thought the gut microbiome was just the one and only gut. There was a gut microbiome. I didn't realize that everything has it. And when you're looking at in terms of your dog's skin microbiome is different in his ear, on his nose, on his lips, on his paws, on his skin, on the back of his skin, under his armpits, his neck area. They're all different. There's different bacteria that live in different parts of the body. There's different oil glands, and there's all sorts of information that's going on. So it's pretty interesting. But then that led me thankfully, to my own health. And I started realizing that, nutrition plays such a big role in our animals' health. It's much easier to protect our animals through nutrition than it is our own. I get that. It is very hard because we are inundated all day long with advertisements and we drive by and our cravings and all of this stuff. But our animals don't have that. They don't have Starbucks, giving them apps and all that kind of stuff. So it's much easier to keep our animals healthy than it is to keep ourselves healthy. But this is an interesting so I'm going to share this little story. I was kind of stalling a little bit with some background there for people who are coming in because we got Lori's in the background right now. So she helps me with all of this kind of stuff. And she was the reason that we got the Thriving Pet Expo together. So, but at the Thriving Pet Expo, I did the keynote, and during the keynote, I shared a story that happened at my doctor's office. And it led to me creating this concoction. And I shared this, and we did a toast at the Thriving Pet Expo. So if you were there, I hope that you really enjoyed that toast. And what I was toasting to is the fact that it is not always our only solution. So a lot of times we have we get ourselves in these situations, or our animals get ourselves in these situations, and we may only see one veterinarian or one doctor. And sometimes we'll even see 2 doctors or 3 doctors or 4, and they all kind of just say the only solution is X, Y, and Z. And maybe they have a different X, Y, and Z, but a lot of times that is just a drug, and they don't really, and sometimes they'll throw a supplement at you, but it doesn't really mean much. And so the toast was, and what we toast to, I think we had almost 200 people in the room, was that it's not your only solution. So don't always feel like, and that was kind of the theme of the entire event, was that it's not always your only solution. And you don't always have to do all or nothing. Sometimes you can do a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And sometimes you can mix and match. There's always different things you can do. And so this is how this started. So I went to my doctor, had my blood test done just as a wellness check, as we call it for the dogs. And he told me that my cholesterol was really high. There's lots of reasons for high cholesterol. Some say that it can be genetic. Some say it can be diet, which I think most people tend to believe that it is diet related, which is interesting, right? Because I'm sitting here trying to learn all this stuff about diet. And I don't think anyone will ever fully grasp diet. But I want to take you guys back probably about 20 years ago. So I started having hand issues. My wrists were hurting, and I got diagnosed with carpal tunnel. Mostly, I'm sure, from years of grooming and holding dogs still and scissoring and that kind of thing. And so I stopped grooming actually because of it. They were so bad. And so I started taking turmeric supplements. I would buy every kind of turmeric supplement you can imagine, and I would take them, and I would take them, and I would take them. And I don't know if they helped, to be honest. I don't think they hurt me, but my hands still would kind of have these problems. It wasn't until I did this that I noticed that I could go a lot longer working with my hands and doing things with my hands without having the problem. I had to do some diet changes and get some inflammatory foods out of my diet, which I did. But I also did this, which is a whole food supplement. And so to this day, I am a big supporter of whole food supplements over supplementation through, like dietary supplements. And the reason why is because I had been taking turmeric for so many years and never really got the results. But when I started this, it was night and day. I mean, I was having problems. I would sleep with casts on. If anybody has carpal tunnel, you know that that your hands, like they say that if you sleep in the fetal position and your hands are twisted like this, that this can create a problem for the carpal nerve that's right there. So anyway, the point is, as I was taking a supplement of turmeric for years and never really noticed much difference. When I started taking this that we're going to create today, which is really simple, it was for a different reason. So my doctor told me that my cholesterol level was really high. To be specific, he said it was 220. So my cholesterol level was 220. And my doctor is not interested whatsoever in any type of nutrition. He is not a nutritionist. However, he's good at other things. So, I take the good and take the bad. So when he told me that my cholesterol level was high, I asked him, what his suggestions were. And he said his suggestions were a drug called Lipitor. And he thought that it was serious enough at my age that I should really start taking it. I asked him, how did he think that my cholesterol got high? And he said diet. And I responded, well, if diet got me in this, then diet's going to get me out of it. And he laughed. We have that kind of relationship. He's not a bad guy. He just isn't there yet and maybe never will get there. But he laughed. And then I said, well, the challenge is on. So I told my doctor that I would come back to him in 4 weeks and I would reduce my cholesterol. And then he really got a good laugh out of that one, let me tell you. So he even went so far, I don't think I shared this at the expo, he even went so far as to get his receptionist to come over and Google some stuff that I was telling him. He's like, no, that can't be. Google that. So I said, you'll see, Dr. Schweiman, I'm going to come back in 4 weeks and we're going to check my cholesterol. And he said, there's no way I could reduce my cholesterol in 4 weeks. That Lipitor doesn't even do it that fast. And so I said, okay, well, we'll see. So I went home and I started doing a lot of research and I created this concoction. It's very simple concoction, but I was very specific and I took it twice a day, 2 times a day, every day, faithfully, without fail. I took it and then I retested 4 weeks later. And when I retested the 4 weeks later, my cholesterol level had gone down 60 points, which was huge. And sadly, I think I got a mosquito bite. Sorry, I'm scratching I think I got a little mosquito bite. So the sad part is that when my doctor gave me the information, he said, your cholesterol is still high, which made me laugh because I was like, what is it? And he wouldn't give me the number right away. He just said, oh, it's still high. And then I was like, hold on a second. What is it? And that's when he told me it was 160. And I said, 160? Are you kidding me? In 4 weeks, I reduced my cholesterol level from 220 to 160. Like, that's huge. And so I wanted to share this. And that's why we did the toast, because Lipitor was not my only solution. And I think a lot of times with doctors and veterinarians, it's not necessarily that they don't know that these studies are out there, because there were a lot of studies that I found on turmeric and cinnamon and honey for cholesterol reducing. It's that they don't think people will follow through. So I think that's the most important thing to understand, is that when you make the commitment to make change in your health and your body and your pet's health, it's not necessarily that they don't work. It's that, did you follow through with the commitment and do it? And I was faithful and I didn't break it at all, not one time. A couple of things I want you to know is that turmeric can lower your blood pressure as well. So if you are on any blood thinners, medication, I'm not a doctor, so I'm certainly not giving you any advice. I'm just showing you guys how to make a shot, something that I did. But if you are on any medications with your doctors, I would check with your doctors first before you do anything, because I will tell you that about 2 weeks into it, I started getting runny noses, and then I looked it up and I was like, what is that? And I had to reduce the amount of the shots I was doing. I was still doing 2 shots a day, but I went to a lower amount in the runny nose. So I think my blood pressure was dropping quite significantly. That's the only thing I can attribute it to, because seriously, I should have taken my blood pressure. I should have done a better study on myself. But just be careful and pay attention to changes in your own body when you're doing something that you're adding in. So I want to make sure I put that out there. I don't want to get anybody sick. So a couple of things you need to know, very, 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 very importantly, is that there is a difference between turmeric and ginger. I don't know if you guys can see, but not everybody. I don't know how many people are in here that are newbies to this kind of thing, but turmeric is orange. It's hard to see in the lighting here. And ginger is kind of more of like a white, but the outside of them look very similar. So and they taste very different. I hate ginger. I cannot stand ginger at all in any of my food. It's just disgusting to me. However, it is also a really good anti-inflammatory. But I took this not as an anti-inflammatory. I took it more to prove to my doctor that he was wrong. And it was a lot of fun. I am very, very, very competitive, which I will tell you, that is one thing that can motivate you when you know you're going to get a test, right? It's like studying for the test. And that's what it was. I knew I had challenged him and that I was going back in 4 weeks. And I got to tell you, I was very motivated by that. But just make sure that you have the right thing. Turmeric is orange when you cut it open, and ginger is more like a creamy color. They're very different in taste, but if you've never had either one of them and you don't know and you happen to go, sometimes I see these at the store in a big bin. and they're separate and they just say turmeric and ginger. And unless you know what you're doing, you're just going to grab them. They all look the same. You can a lot of times get them in a bag and it will say turmeric on it, but I get, a big bag of these from Whole Foods and it comes in a bag and it says turmeric. So a couple of things is, obviously I want to relate this to your dogs. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I do so that my dogs can benefit from this as well. So apple seeds are known to have a little bit of arsenic in it. So if you're going to make this kind of concoction as an anti-inflammatory, which I highly recommend for your dogs with arthritis, those kind of things, this is an amazing, amazing thing for them. But you're going to want to cut, I already pre-cut up some apples so that I can make sure that there aren't any seeds in it when I go to give to my dogs. So, because what I'm going to be doing is giving my dogs the pulp. And so I make up a little pulp for my dogs. And you're going to want to give them about, depending on their weight, you want to give them probably about a 2 teaspoons for a medium-sized dog would be a good amount to give them of this concoction that I'm making. But they can have as much ground apple as they want. So if you do it all in the right order, then you can make all sorts of stuff for your animals as well as yourself. Just to get into some of the logistics here, this is the blender that I highly recommend. It is called a Nama. N is in Nancy, A is an apple, M is in Mary, A is an apple. Nama. And let me just tell you guys, I have gone through some blenders and I should make money off of this, but I don't. I'm not an influencer. It's not what I'm here to do. I am honest to God telling you guys, this thing is quiet. It is amazing. And if you want to start doing juicing, just spend the money, because I was doing so much juicing and so much of it that I had to cut everything. I literally do not have to cut up this apple. I can throw this apple in here without, I'll show you, because we are going to do that just so you guys can see how great this blender is, because I don't want you to give up on juicing because it's amazing. I also really like the pulp. And so I like that I can make a juice. And then if I want, I can add the pulp back in if I like, and then I just end up with kind of a pulpy drink. So that's what I like to do with juicing. But because I like to make some stuff for my dogs also, what I'm going to do is not put the apple core in yet, but I'm not going to throw the apple core away because this is a lot of stuff for me, and I can get rid of the pulp. So eventually I'm going to use it. Now, but Lori and I got a bunch of emails asking us how many apples and how much turmeric and how much cinnamon and how much honey and all of these things. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am not a chef. My husband can tell you. I do not cook. I don't spend very much time in the kitchen unless I'm making something for the dogs or a juice for myself. But recipes, I don't know. I'm just going to give you guys the basics. So I put in about 10 apples to a bag of turmeric. And in the bag of turmeric is probably about, I'm looking because I had just opened this bag. So it's probably 10 apples to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turmeric roots is probably about what I did. If you're looking for flavor, the cinnamon was just based on flavor. But what's interesting, if you've studied or looked at turmeric, and they tell you that you have to have black pepper in order to get the turmeric to work, it activates the turmeric. So I hate black pepper, and I couldn't think of how I was going to get myself to drink turmeric and black pepper. Sounded gross, and I knew I didn't want to eat this. I didn't want to cook it. I knew I had to have my best chance, and my best chance was raw. Everything had to be raw. I was doing raw vegan. I did a raw vegan diet for a while, but I knew I needed it to be raw. So how was I going to drink turmeric and black pepper? It seemed disgusting to me. So I did some research, and lo and behold, I found that cinnamon has the same effect on turmeric as black pepper does. So voila, no black pepper. And I like cinnamon, and bonus, cinnamon lowers cholesterol. So it was an absolute bonus for me to be able to put these two spices together and know that I was going to have some good overall health effects. Even if it didn't lower my cholesterol, it wasn't going to be bad for me. What I didn't expect was my hands. The inflammation in my hands it's shocking and amazing to me. So I'm going to start. What I do is I will put in, you guys are going to see one of the reasons why I love this juicer so much is it is also extremely quiet. I don't know how it'll pick up for you guys if it's going to be quiet or not, but I can certainly barely hear it when, I'm making it hear it, but I make up enough for, that should not work. Did I have it plugged in? Let's see. This is going to be absolutely the funniest live video ever when we find out that my cord doesn't work. Ha! Tim, the power outage thing isn't working. What? I don't know. I can't get the blender to work.
Are you online?
Yeah, it's live. Of course it is.
Huh?
Well, let's plug it in over here. See if this one works. That's so. See?
You shouldn't plug that into where a computer is anyway.
Well, I even unplugged that already.
No, but it'll damage the computer.
Okay, well. No, look it.
It's this thing.
Why would that thing break all of a sudden? I use it all the time.
Everything breaks all of a sudden.
Oh my gosh. Really? I should have tested it this morning. They're not on the same thing? Well, this is interesting. That can't be it. This isn't even that old. Haha. Can you take it somewhere else and plug it in for me? I'm just curious.
Take the top stuff off.
Well, that's going to be just fun. But I'm just wondering if these two are connected. I just used it. We just made, maybe that's what happens when you make 200 shots for people. Well, that's going to stink. That's a very, well, there you go. That's not going to be a sales pitch for them. If their machine broke on me, maybe I'll send them this video and tell them how embarrassing that was. But hopefully Tim will get it fixed for me. I don't know what's wrong with it. I haven't used it since the expo because I've been out of town and so busy, but we just used it for 200 shots. So anyway, what I do, just in case this thing doesn't get set, is I will put all of the turmeric in and it'll come out, whatever. You'll get your leftover whatever.
Try to plug this in here. That'll tell you if that works at least.
If this works.
Yeah, so it's
your
machine.
It's my
I'll have
machine.
to look at it.
Oh my God, how embarrassing. Okay, well, it's okay. So I'm not going to actually make it for you, but you're getting an idea anyway. So what I do is I will put all of my cut apples in, or my turmeric in first, and then all of the, whatever will come through here. Then I'm going to put my cut apples in. And then what I'm going to end up with is some pulp in here with no apple seeds. So it's going to be turmeric and apple pulp. And then I'm going to put in about a little bit of cinnamon in there, and I'm going to mix the whole thing up. And then that becomes something that I give my dogs. So I sprinkle a little bit of Batman's in here. I sprinkle a little bit of turmeric and cinnamon and the apple on top of their food at night. So they end up with a little bit of, I don't do it every night. I probably do it 2 or 3 times a week. And then after I've made their little thing of apple, turmeric, and cinnamon, I'll even add a little bit of honey to theirs. Then I start putting in my whole apple in. And then what's interesting about cinnamon, guys, so there's 2 types of cinnamon. This is the one that you can get most of the time. This is, it's the darker cinnamon. So I get organic, but cinnamon does not stir well. It's not a spice that should stir into your food and stuff. So it'll float at the top. So that's why I brought my blender out here. So once I put, get down, sweetheart. Batman is going to break everything. So once I put all of this connected, so I'm so sad. I can't believe my little machine broke right here on live, whatever. Honey is important, raw organic honey, but it's just for flavor because turmeric it's a pretty spicy spice. So, oh my God, Batman, bad kitty, come here. He's going to knock my laptop over. So you got your apples, about 10 apples to a bag of to a bag of turmeric. Blend that whole thing together. It's going to juice out. You're going to end up with this liquid in here. Then you take that liquid, pour it into your blender, and then put your cinnamon in so that you can get a really good blended cinnamon apple mixture. Because if you don't do it that way, if you try to stir it in, the cinnamon sits on top. It doesn't get blended in there. So you really, really, really want to blend it in there. And then I literally put as much cinnamon as I could stand with as much honey as I needed, because I'm using raw organic honey, and raw organic honey is so good for you that it didn't really matter to me how much honey I had, how much of that. And then I would take about this much of a shot twice a day. But I told you I started to get a runny nose about an hour or so after I would do the shot in the morning. So I started looking it up, and I was like, oh my God, I think my blood pressure is lowering. And I don't have high blood pressure, so I don't think I needed it that low. And then I would take 2 shots a day of that. And that was it. And it's so good. We got so many people wanting to know what that recipe was and how we did it. It was absolutely amazing. And you can leave the leftover stuff for your dogs, so long as it doesn't have the apple seeds in it. And if you wanted, you could add ginger. If you wanted to add ginger to it, it would just give it another level. But like I said, I can't stand ginger. I'm trying to see if there was any questions on there. Hi guys. Hi. I'm so sorry. It's so embarrassing that my little machine broke. I think Tim's getting it fixed, but anyway, so that's what I did, and lowered my cholesterol in 4 weeks. I still need to go back and test my cholesterol again to see if I've got it down lower. This was years ago, and then I just changed my whole diet and kind of stayed on that path quite a bit. So I'm not worried about it. I know that I was doing what I needed to do. I hope that this helped you guys get an idea. I think you're going to love those shots. It's actually a great time of year right now. It's fall. This is a warming, a little bit of a warming drink. So that's energetics that Rita Hogan talks about. So it's a warming drink. It's really good, but there's a lot of stuff you guys can do with a working blender. When a blender works, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can make your own shots, your own supplements, all of that. One of the other things I like to do is green-lipped mussels is also, I know somebody on Saving Pets had asked about arthritis today, and I hope they made it on here because I told them. But green-lipped mussels, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a green-lipped mussel and I'll like an oil, and I'll pop it and I'll squirt that in for my dogs. And so then it becomes really anti-inflammatory. It's super good for them. So I hope this helps you guys. I'm so sorry I didn't get to show you the most amazing blender ever, that I'm going to have to be calling that company and tell them how embarrassing that was. But maybe I'll get a free blender on it. Wouldn't that be great? I'm gonna have to call Nama and go, look at what you guys did. How embarrassing. And I'll send him this video. But it is, up until now, has been such an amazing blender. And thank God it didn't break on me. Oh my God. See, always look for the positive, guys. Always look for the positive. I would have been completely shocked if that would have happened. I would have been, I don't know what I would have done if that didn't work at the expo, because I spent all night making those shots and having it all ready and getting it. Oh my gosh, it would have ruined my whole keynote if I didn't have those shots with me. Good question. I keep those in my refrigerator. When I'm done, it makes almost a full pitcher, and I'll put the pitcher in there, and it lasts me. I think I've gone as long as 2 weeks. By just taking a couple shots off of it and just keeping it in the refrigerator. I love the taste of it so much that I kid you not, I actually was drinking a lot more than those shots some days, where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take a little bit more and do it. One day I brought it as my drink for work, and I kind of sipped on it all day. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you have blood pressure problems. I don't know. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is, well, this would be really, really hard. The turmeric would be really hard to put in a blender. It's got the skin. I mean, you could take the skin off of it, but I think you would end up with chunks of the turmeric. And I don't know. I don't know. I've never tried it. I've never, ever tried it. I just put it straight through my juicer. and it does just such a great job when my juicer works. I'm going to be crying right now because I was going to make up. I was so excited to make up some more for the week. But I make all sorts of stuff like that. That is, oh, you know what I made today? Here's a little something. Let me see if I can get it out of my refrigerator. I made this up today. This is an amazing, and you can give this to your dogs too. Wait, I'm going to trip over my blender. My thing. Okay, this I made today. If you guys haven't made these, I should start a cooking channel, except there would only be 4 things that I ever cooked on it. So, because I only really do, I make lots of juices, but I would never be able to do some kind of cooking thing because I literally would have 4 recipes. But this is another thing that I make. This is something, this is got chia seeds in it. So if you haven't done this, I highly recommend you do it. So you get milk. If you don't know what milk is, oh my gosh, I'm going to teach you guys some raw vegan crazy stuff. So let me get this for you. I have to step over everything. See, now I'm turning it into a cooking channel. Okay, this is so good. So if you don't know what milk is, this is milk, M-A-L-K. Don't get the chocolate one unless you want to. The chocolate one has a little bit of sugar in it. So, but if you want it to be 100% healthy, sugar-free, amazing dessert, do this. Go get milk, M-A-L-K, get the almond milk. It has nothing else in it. It's organic. It's amazing. And then you get your chia seeds. And then you soak them in the milk. So they're going to, if you haven't used chia seeds before, they're going to gelatinize, I think is the word for it. And so it becomes like a tapioca pudding. And then if you take pure maple syrup and organic cocoa and you mix those together into the chia seed and milk and you blend it all together, and then you can put peanut butter in it and then you boost up the protein. So you end up with a protein. So if you eat this in the morning, I can't even get into my drawers or do anything. So if you eat this in the morning, I put berries, like this has blackberries and it has blueberries in it. It's tons of peanut butter in it. I get the chunky peanut butter. Make sure you get peanut butter that doesn't have any xylitol in it, because if it didn't, you could actually give this, as long as it doesn't have the chocolate and it doesn't have the xylitol and it doesn't have peanut butter with xylitol in it, you could actually give this to your pets. The chia seeds are really awesome for your animals. It really helps them with their omegas, getting them balanced, those kind of things. You just want to make sure that you give it to them. They could have the almond milk without the chocolate. So you could make this for your pets, which would have peanut butter, which is great so long as it doesn't have xylitol in it. So just make sure and for you too, you don't need that stuff. You don't need that shit. Just get the peanut butter. I get the one with the nuts because I like it to be a little chunky. I do like chocolate. So sometimes I'll buy this chocolate one, but it's better to do it with the maple syrup and the pure cocoa. Almond butter, I'm not sure. That you'd have to check on for me. I don't know. But you can give this as a dessert or you could eat this in the morning. And if you put the peanut butter in it, then you have a lot of protein. And you put some berries, and it's the easiest thing in the world to make, guys. And if you get if you get this one, right? If you get the milk with the chocolate in it, which it's not horrible, but it's got organic almonds, organic coconut sugar. See, there's your sugar. And then it's got Dutch processed cocoa, which this is not what we want. And I shouldn't, but every once in a while, you're just going to give yourself a break. But when I'm on a super, like, Carrie needs to get her shit together kind of thing, then I will do the maple syrup and the 100% cocoa mixed together. And that gives you that sweet flavor mixed with the chia seeds and then your blueberries, your banana, and your, if you want to do blackberries, which this has blackberries in it. But the peanut butter gives you the protein. So amazing. Anyway, well, I'm sorry my blender broke. I feel like a big giant loser. Live and learn, right? Test your blender before you go on live TV or whatever this is called and try to get your juicer to work. Maybe not that brand. I swear to God, it's the best brand ever though, guys. Like, honestly, I don't know what's wrong with it. But I have to tell you, I have gone through the most expensive blenders ever.
Where's the top part?
And, could that be why it's not working?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that's why I didn't have it all the way on.
Yep.
Oh, that's why. See, I didn't have it connected. Yeah, don't blame the blender. Blame the operator. I bet that's what it is.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah, I know that's what you usually do. Tim always tells me it's operator error, and then I get mad, but then he gets proven right. That is going to make me laugh so hard right now. No? Maybe that's not it. I don't know. Whatever's going on is going to end up being something I did. I'm sure of it because I just used this thing. But it is, guys, the only reason I say that is because you can put whole apples in it. You can put you don't have to cut. So if you're doing a lot of juicing like I was and still do sometimes, I was spending more time cutting up apples, cutting up celery, cutting up turmeric, cutting up all of the stuff that I wanted to put in there to make a juice. Like I love doing beet juices, and I'd have to cut the beet. Now I have to just throw the whole beet in there, and it's quiet. It's so quiet. So please don't let this is going to be me. I probably did something to it. Maybe I broke something. I don't know. Anyway, all right, guys, I am going to head off there. If there's not any other Three Trees is another good brand like Malk. Oh yeah, it is. That is another good one. So anyway, I will see you guys soon. I know I haven't been on here very much. I'm really trying to hyper focus on a lot of things that I'm working on. And we've talked about possibly doing another pet expo. Yahoo! What did I do?
I think it just wasn't fully assembled.
Oh, will you bring it over here?
It has interlocks and stuff.
It wasn't fully assembled. See there?
Real time troubleshooting.
I want to put it together for you guys so that you can see what it looks like when it's all done. But will you bring it over here? Tim is a huge troubleshooter. He does all sorts of troubleshooting for his job and my life. Thank God. And for those of you guys who were at the Pet Expo, you got a chance to meet him.
Plug it into the other one.
Because Tim did our MC work because he's awesome. And an animal lover, which is really the only rule. Yes. So see, that's the benefit of talking a lot. I talk a lot, and in the meantime, Tim can get things fixed. So now you get to see why I love this thing so much. So you can pop everything in here. See how quiet that thing is? It's so quiet. It's just amazing. So, like I said, if you're going to use your, you can see that, I think you can see the juice coming out of there. If you're going to use the pulp for your dogs, make sure that you are not using the core until you get that part of the pulp out. And then I'll show you how great this thing is at grinding up whole apples. It's just so easy. So you're not going to get a lot of juice out of all of that turmeric. That's why, because I want to make enough of it for the week or for 2 weeks, I don't want to have like just making small amounts. So I get as much turmeric as I can in there. And then it's got a thick blend that comes out. Kind of does a really good job of getting all of your apples. The only problem is that with juicers like this, you need to have weight on it. So because I don't have a big thick apple on top of the little apples, it's going to take a little bit longer, but I want to wait until I get some of the pulp because I want to give it to my dogs. There's your pulp. It's going to have a little bit of apple in it, which is fine. I want all of that. And then I'm going to let your dogs can have honey. Raw, unpasteurized honey is good for them. So I'm going to put a little bit of honey in here. This is for my dogs. That's going to be for me. Turmeric pulp is disgusting, so I don't like it. You'll start to see the apples coming out, the apple seeds. I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon. They don't need as much cinnamon, but cinnamon is an anti-inflammatory. So I am going to give them a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of apple, a little bit of honey. I'm going to mix all of this up with that honey. And because this has no apple seeds in it, this becomes my dog's anti-inflammatory shot, or I shouldn't say shot. It's just going to go on top of their food. I'm going to give, Ansel will get about a teaspoon of this 3 times a week. Nevada will get about 2 teaspoons of this. Nevada's a big dog. Ansel's a little dog. And that's it. And that's how I do theirs. And so it ends up with, this is enough for them, for their little anti-inflammatory. And now for the big guns, my whole apples, my whole apple cores, all my stuff. Boom, boom, done. With an extra little piece of whatever. I don't like ginger, but I don't even remember why I have it here. I think I was going to try it or something. I don't remember. So I'm going to use up all of my apples. This is the world's best juicer. I need to plug it in correctly. I knew it had to be me. More apple cores that I already... Actually saving this apple for tomorrow because I also like to cut up apples in the morning and have it with peanut butter. Celery, peanut butter, apples, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Then what's going to happen? This is going to get poured into here. Like I told you, honey is honestly, it's just for taste. But I put a lot of honey. Honey is really good for you. It's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-everything, pro-everything. I like it better cold. It's not one of those things that I think is a good drink hot. I definitely like it cold. And then once it's done, we'll pour it into the blender. So it's like I'm telling you, the cinnamon does not mix well. It just does not. I tried putting tons of cinnamon, and I put a lot of cinnamon. I told you, it's so quiet, right? Like everything goes in. It's easy to clean. It's easy for everything. And they have a new one. They have a new one out, Ellen. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I'm like, Carrie, knock it off. Why do I need a new one? This is fine, but I just love being able to throw everything in it whole. I love how quiet it is. Like when I turn the blender on, I'm like, oh my God, I love that my little juicer is so quiet. And it is really easy to clean. I mean, that's probably the biggest part about a juicer nobody likes is cleaning. But it is actually one of the easier ones to clean. Okay, so then I'm just going to close up all of that. Pour. You don't have to do this. This is just something I do. You do not have to do it if you don't mind your cinnamon. If you don't mind your cinnamon not being all mixed in there well, I do not like it. So when I go to do the cinnamon, I put so much cinnamon in mine, but I like cinnamon. So I use the one that's going to let it pour out. And I will literally, guys, I put a lot of cinnamon. If you had this drink at the Thriving Pet Expo, it was not, it had a lot of cinnamon in it. I don't know if you were able to taste the cinnamon, but it had a lot of cinnamon in it. I'm probably going to put more cinnamon in this. Okay, Carrie, learn how to operate stuff. It's so fun. And I just unplugged my light. lost the lid to my blender. That's why I have to hold my hand over it. I'm telling you guys, I am not, I have a lot of faults. And if it is anything in the kitchen, it's going to go wrong. So when it's all done, it should look about that color. And I will usually take, I don't know, maybe a little more than that. A nice shot, about that much. Oh yeah, it's so good. It needs a little bit more honey, but it's so good. And then I'll just sit here and figure out what flavor works for me. All right, guys. So that's it. Now you have an anti-inflammatory for yourself, an anti-inflammatory for your dogs. You didn't have to go spend a bunch of money on an encapsulated capsule. You got it straight through Whole Foods. But most importantly, remember, I had to be consistent. Nothing in life works if we're not consistent. So make sure that if you're trying to do this with your cholesterol, you can't also be eating high cholesterol foods. So, you want to reduce those as much as possible. If you're trying to get rid of inflammation in your dogs, then you also want to make sure that they're not eating inflammatory foods. So inflammatory foods are going to be your processed foods, right? Your carbohydrates, your sugars, all of those kind of things are inflammatory. So I always say this, you can't eat a burger and work out on the treadmill at the same time. You're canceling each other out. So make sure that what you're doing for your dogs and what you're doing for yourself is not canceling things out. Moderation is okay. Right? Moderation is okay. You can have a little bit of that ice cream every once in a while, but you can't have it every day. And you need to incorporate this kind of stuff into your own diet and into your dog's diet. So I hope that I helped you guys with something today. It's a standalone juicer. I don't know what she's saying. Oh, about another juicer. Sorry. I'm so bad at reading questions. So anyway, I hope this helped you. I love that you guys got a chance to try this before, and I'm sure I'll have something else for the next Thriving Pet Expo that we're still thinking about what we're going to do. I will tell you this though, what I know for sure, for those of you who were at the Thriving Pet Expo, it will not be in October again. So we are batting around the idea of having it on Valentine's Day weekend, because we got a lot of people who talked about it being a love fest, which just warmed my heart so much that people really felt the love and the compassion and the desire that we all have to make our pets healthier and to be there for our pets. And so I thought, California is so warm compared to the rest of the planet in February. And, there's a lot of people who are alone on Valentine's Day. And I thought, it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day, but it'd probably be that weekend. We're batting that around. If we do the Thriving Pet Expo, it will be February 2025. So you still have about a year and a half, not quite a year and a half, but a little over a year to be prepared for that. And it would be here in Orange County again, but it'll be in February. So if we do it, we're still working together, trying to figure out how we can put those together as a charity, so that the ticket sales won't be sales at all. They'll be by donation only. And then we will pick a couple of charities that we can donate that money to. Those will, of course, be pet charities. So hopefully you guys will still continue to support the Thriving Pet Expo, support your dogs, and support your clients. I know a lot of people that follow me also have their own clients, and I love to see you guys on here, because it does take a pack. I always say that it's going to take a pack of us. One of us cannot change all of what's going on, but together we can. So let's work together, be consistent, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye. Lori, thank you. I always want to make sure I thank her, because I don't even know how to turn this thing on without her. So clearly I can't even get my blender to work without my husband. So, all right, guys, take care, everybody. Have a good weekend.